So I guess I'll begin by having my colleagues from the Health and Wellness Center introduce themselves and kick things off.
Sure. So hi, everybody. Welcome. I will start. My name is Jill Gattone. I am the nurse here at the Wellness Center. And the Wellness Center is where you will find student health services as well as counseling services. And Jenna Ray is also here. She's our wellness coordinator, and you'll hear from her in a little bit. Our counselors could not be here this evening, but we have some pictures of them. So we'll tell you a little bit about their services, and you'll get to meet them also. But the main thing that we want you to know tonight is that the Wellness Center is a resource for your students. I just want to emphasize that we understand that, you know, taking care of their health as well as their classwork and college life can be a little overwhelming at times. So we are a great resource for all of them, and we just are always happy to see them at Joiner House. Let's see. You could probably go to the next slide. And I guess I really want everybody to know that we treat each student as an individual, and we know that they deserve quality care, and that's what we're there for. We really want them to feel welcome and comfortable coming to see us. So a little bit about the Wellness Center. We're located in Joiner House, which is right on the outskirts of, it's on the campus, but we're sort of set apart, which is nice for confidentiality reasons. And again, we house health services, counseling services, and the Pacer Pantry. You can go ahead and change slides. So these are our hours. We are available Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4, Friday, 9 to 3, and then we're closed on the weekends. And essentially we're open when the university's open. So during the holidays and so forth, we are also closed. We do prefer appointments, and we like to have students either email us or call before they come. There's also a QR code that they can schedule appointments as well. And of course, they can always just stop by. We're always happy to see them if we can. If we're busy, we would just have them schedule another appointment at a later time. Okay, so I'll start with health services. This is our staff. That's myself. We also have Dr. Scott McGeary. He's wonderful. We're so lucky to have him. He comes on Monday and Thursday from 10 to 1. And he has a great background. He was a pediatrician for many years. Then he owned urgent cares. And then he worked at another university for, gosh, I guess about 8 years before coming to us. So both Dr. Scott and I have a long history of student health. It's kind of our expertise. So your students are in good hands. And then, of course, we have our wonderful Jenna, who runs the place. And you'll hear from her in a little bit. Okay, so some of the most of the services we offer are free. There's a few charges, you know, flu tests, a few things that we charge just a minor fee, but we are a full service health clinic, so we can do just about everything. You know, we for minor injuries, illnesses, we do a vaccine clinic every year. And we have over-counter medication. Students sometimes will just come and say, I have a headache, can I just get some Advil? We also do offer prescription medications so that we can save them the trip to the pharmacy. Now, sometimes we don't have the medication Dr. Scott may prescribe, but most of the time we're able to give them like the full supply of medication, which is really nice. And we don't take insurance. So this is a service that is paid for through some of your comprehensive fees through the university for on-campus students. So it's really a wonderful resource, and your students should utilize us. For commuters, there is a per semester fee, but they can also be seen at the Wellness Center. Again, it's confidential and free. We also have we have a partnership with the Wake County Health Department, which is really great because they come twice a month. It's all confidential. They see the students, and students can make an appointment for that as well. Let's see, I think that's it for that page, that slide. And oh, I should say that if it's something that we can't do, for example, we don't do x-rays, we don't have an x-ray machine, we would help them get to Raleigh Radiology, for example. So we always help with referrals, just in case it's something that we can't treat. And we also do wellness events. So vaccine clinics, blood drives, we have therapy dogs, lots of other preventative educational programs. And so that, that's helpful. So now I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about Magnus Health. And Magnus Health is where all our electronic records are housed. And it's also where your students will have an account, and there's some requirements. And I'll go ahead. This is a little video that we can play to explain it all. And then we can answer any questions that you might have. But the one thing that I do want to emphasize is that it's due August 1st and for the fall enrollment. So you can
Jill, is there a video you want me to play?
There should be a link. Is there not something
that
for you?
video should play, but if not, it can.
If not, I can speak to it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm not seeing the link.
Oh, that's okay. Well, not a problem. Not a problem at all. So what I'll just go over briefly. It's not a lot. There is the vital health record, which is the first requirement, and that's where the students will put in their contact information, emergency contacts. Is this it? Oh, there we go.
Did I find it? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. This will just, sometimes it helps. There should be sound, but there's any sound. Okay, well, it's okay. It's okay. I can speak to it, but
do you want me not to play it, Jill? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, there is sound to it, but it's just the sound isn't playing, I don't think, for some reason.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, but that's okay. No worries. So it's important that the vital health record is filled out, because that's where they put emergency contacts, allergies, medications that they might be on. And once that's done, all that information is in there, that is complete. However, every semester we like the students, they're required to go in and just check and make sure nothing's changed, make sure emergency contacts haven't changed, make sure that, they haven't developed any new allergies, anything like that. So that's an important piece of the vital health record. And then the second requirement, and probably the most important, is the immunization checklist. And that is, and the TB questionnaire. And we follow North Carolina state law. So we do have to report compliance to the state shortly after the start of classes. So it's really important that they get those uploaded, their immunizations uploaded. And the easiest way to do that is to get their official records and just take a screenshot and upload them that way. And then the other thing you can do is just print out the form. And I know it's a lot of information, and certainly as you go through it, it's pretty self-explanatory, but they can also take their form to the doctor's office. The doctor can write in the immunizations with dates, sign it, and upload that. So those are the two main requirements. There's a couple other signatures that are needed, just like on a consent to treat. So they'll read through the consent to treat, and then just electronically sign that. And again, if they have any questions, we're always happy to walk through it with them. So that is Magnus Health. And it's like I said, once they get, they'll get a link in their PC mail if they haven't already, They should have already set up their account, have a username, password, and at least gotten started on this. Jen, are there any questions? I see a couple things in the chat that I should address on Magnus.
No, we're okay. It's been addressed.
Okay, thank you. And then, but so the immunization, unless your student happens to get a new immunization on their app piece, there really is not any need to do that other than initially at first. So those are our two requirements. If your student is going to be playing NCAA sports at piece, they will also need a physical, but that is done through athletics. Otherwise, we do not require a physical. Okay, so next slide.
I think you might have opened up a separate tab.
Are you hearing something? I'm sorry.
No. The presentation, it opened up another tab to play the video.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Thanks, Jenna.
What do we do without Jenna? So before we go on to counseling, I just want to have a few other things to say about health services, and that is it's important that your student carry their insurance card with them, or now you can just have it on your phone, so they should have that with them at all times. We don't take insurance, however, should they need to go to urgent care or emergency room or something like that, it would be important that they have it. And then also, the other thing that I do want to mention, and this is, I almost forgot because it's new for us, but we have, and I think this is really a great benefit and resource for students, is we have partnered with Timely Care. So when we are not on campus, when the Wellness Center is closed, students will have access to Timely Care, which is a 24/7 telehealth. It gives students access to medical and mental health 24/7, and they can download the app on their phone, which makes it really convenient, and they can access these services at no cost. So it's really going to be helpful when we're not there, and that should also give you peace of mind should they, wake up at 11 o'clock at night not feeling good or need to speak to a counselor, that they can just get on their phone and do that. So that I didn't want to forget to talk about that. So now we can go on to counseling. And these are our wonderful counselors who are not with us tonight, but Alicia is the director of counseling and also a counselor, as well as Nick Vogel. And we also have a part-time graduate intern who comes also. So we have 3 counselors. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So the services offered are free and confidential short-term mental health counseling, and it can be anywhere from they need help with their schedule and managing the stress that comes with that, to any type of counseling that they might need. It is, like I said, 2 licensed mental health counselors. Alicia has a lot of experience working with students, and they have a weekly walk-in hour, but otherwise we do prefer, again, that they make appointments. And usually what they'll do, the counselors will do, is set up an appointment time every week that they'll see them, or every other week. And then there are referrals to off-campus resources if necessary. And again, these are some of the reasons that students seek counseling. Again, it may be something as simple as time management. Sometimes we'll have students come that are concerned about their roommate, or again, just anything our counselors are open to talking with students about. Oh, and here's our time slide. I already talked about that. Okay, and then I'll let Jenna talk about the Pacer Pantry, because she does a lot of the work since we've started it back in 2018.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Jenna. The Pantry is a free confidential resource for our students. Um, it stocks non-perishable food items, so we have a lot of canned goods right now, but we're always accepting donations if you would like to donate at Join Your House. We have lots of canned items. We have snacks. We have ramen because gotta have ramen for college. It's important. But we also have like vegetables and things. Um, they're canned because that's our resources right now, and we're doing our very best to provide our students with very good initial snacks and to get them through mealtime to make sure that they have food and aren't skipping snacks or meals just because they might be short on cash or they're running out of meal plan money or things like that. We also have toiletry items, toilet paper, paper towels, dish soap, laundry soap. Yes, but the Pace Pantry can be ordered through our Google form that students have access to. Um, and there's no limit as to how many orders they can place. It's confidential, so we pack it up and we put it on the porch with their student ID. Um, and it's, like I said, it's free.
Yeah. And Jen has done a great job managing that. And we've just, with there's, as with inflation and times can be tough for students when they're in college. So it's really nice that they have this access and can just come and get some fun snacks. Sometimes they'll just come and, and give their orders and pick it up right then. But usually there's a form that they can go through to fill out, and we can usually get it to them by the end of the day. So it's a great resource. But I also just want to emphasize that, we love our students. We love for them to come. I always tell them, I'd rather you come and there be nothing wrong with you than you worry about it. Just come and get that peace of mind. Again, it's free for our students, and we're happy to see them and help them in any way we can. So there was just a couple of questions in the chat, but does anybody have any other questions?
You did that great of a job.
And we're still on. So if you think of anything, just go ahead and put it. And I did want to address the copay. We don't take insurance, so it's completely free, except, there's like a $5 fee for a strep test, for example, and that would just be applied to their student account. They don't have to have the cash. And then just the commuter fee if they choose to be seen. But that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Well, my name is Gabe Litton, and I work as the Disability Support Services Coordinator here at William Peace University. My contact information is here on the screen. I'm located in Main, room 119, and Main is the building that's right behind the fountain. I'd love for any of you to stop by as you get acclimated to the university. My telephone number is there, and also the disability email. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is disability. I think I didn't notice earlier, but some of my things didn't show up on the other side there. But here are a couple of the things that we're going to talk about are the laws guiding higher education, disability support services, our actual office, and some of the things that we're doing there. Disclosure and confidentiality, the DSS certification process. I'm also going to go over what is necessary regarding disability documentation, the differences between accommodations and resources, some of the differences between high school services that your students may be currently receiving, and how it looks a little bit different in higher education. And then I've added a couple of family resources that I hope you'll be able to access as well. So just to hit on a couple of the laws, and there are more laws than this that guide higher education, but these are the two probably biggest ones, and that's the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, and the American Disabilities Act 1990 with the amendments in 2008. And the gist of it is that a disability must limit at least one major life activity. So that's how we determine if a student has a disability. And then the laws guide universities and colleges not to exclude or discriminate students with disabilities. And the law also guides us to make reasonable adjustments and accommodations. But those accommodations cannot alter the essential parts of the academic program. So some of the things that my office ensures is that, as you can imagine, that students with disabilities are not excluded from any programs. They're not excluded or denied any activities here on campus. And I ensure that students with disabilities have inclusive experiences, equal opportunities, and I make sure that the way I do that is by determining their eligibility and then supporting the implementation of those accommodations. And those accommodations could be housing, they could be academic accommodations or dining accommodations. And then the way I facilitate services through our office is based on the individual documentation that we receive. I meet with the students through an interactive process, and that helps develop the accommodation, the approved accommodation plan. And then I also manage the confidentiality of the records and the communication related to any disability information. So students have the may disclose their disability, but they may not. I mean, it is completely optional whether a student chooses to disclose their disability to the university. If they are going to disclose their disability, they would do it typically through the Disability Support Services office and through our certification process that we'll talk a little bit about in a minute. Now, students may disclose to anyone on campus that they choose to, but typically in order to go through the accommodation process of the certification process, it would also be with me. Related to confidentiality, Disability Support Services doesn't disclose anything about a student's disability to anyone else on campus. So even though a student may disclose to me or our office and we work through the accommodations for the student, we still don't send that information anyplace else except in Disability Support Services. And we do communicate accommodate for like housing or dining. We will have conversations with those offices. If students give us permission, we will disclose or talk with other people. But even once an accommodation plan is approved, it's sent back to the student, and the student actually provides their academic accommodation plan to the instructor. So here's how the Disability Support Services process looks. A student will email the disability@peace.edu email address and request accommodations. And they do that once they have received their William Peace email account. And then, parents can also do that. A faculty person can make a referral as well, but the students are the primary person that needs to remain involved in the process. And then what I'll do is send a certification or disclosure, self-disclosure form to the student, and that's a Google form. And the student completes that form. And I also send them the requirements for the documentation, which we'll go over in just a minute, and how to submit that documentation back to me. Once I review all the documentation, I ask the student to have an interactive meeting with me, and I have specific questions and things that I answer and that we go over in order for me to develop an accommodation plan for the student. Then once the accommodation plan is generated, like I just said a minute ago, I'll either communicate with Residence Life regarding the housing accommodations, or for academics, I send the academic accommodation plan to the student, and the student communicates that to each instructor. And then if it's a dining accommodation, I communicate with Sodexo that the student has approved accommodations, and then the student may actually meet with Sodexo or dining regarding implementation of those accommodations as well. And then at the beginning of each year, we go through a modified process. So families and students don't have to pull all this information back together unless there's some new information or something has changed. And then I'll have a brief conversation with the student, or it might be as simple as an email with the student on how things went this past year and what types of changes might be needed for the upcoming year. And then we'll generate a new accommodation plan each year following that. So here are some of the types of documentation that I would expect to receive from a student or family. It can be like a diagnostic evaluation, or it can be a letter from the current provider. And sometimes there's a combination of things that are going to be included in that documentation. So some of the things that you see listed here, I need to be able to see from looking at the information what major life activity has been limited based on the disability. We need information regarding a specific diagnosis. We look for information that lets us know how long the student has had the diagnosis or when the diagnosis was initially made. And what process was used. In some cases, it's necessary, in others, it's not. Obviously, if we receive a comprehensive psychological evaluation, all of that information is included. And then any suggested recommendations or any recommendations or suggestions for accommodations can be included in that information. And what the student and I will do is sort through those recommendations that have been made by an outside provider and determine which ones are appropriate for higher education together. Typically, the information is going to have the name, title, license, credentials of the provider, and a signature by the provider that they have, this is authentic or certified through their office or their agency. And then any other supporting information, if a student's had an IEP or a 504 plan in high school, all of that information gives us a better picture of the student and more background regarding the student's learning and information. So I have a son with a disability who went to college, and there were things that I got kind of confused about, honestly, when I was making that transition with him from high school to college. And one of the things was the difference between accommodations and resources in college. With accommodations, what we're basically doing through my office is providing academic adjustments, auxiliary aids and services, some modifications to policies or procedures. But the overall idea around what we're doing is removing barriers to ensure equal access, so that there is so that this we're removing those barriers so a student can access their instruction, access programs, access activities on campus. But there are lots of other resources that are available on campus, and those are used to enhance opportunities for success. So they have a little bit different focus. And so some of those examples are things like tutors. They're in another office, managing things such as consultation supports. I occasionally am asked to consult with I consult with students all the time, but sometimes I'm asked to consult with professors or instructors regarding how to implement accommodations and things like that. But there are also other consultation and supports on campus, including what Jill was just telling you about with health service and counseling services. Then there are also clubs and activities and recreation programs and things that also are available to support students on campus. But accommodations are really for access, if that's helpful. So here we go. And I don't know what happened to these slides, but anyway, one of my slides seems to be missing.
Oh.
But let me tell you a little bit about the differences between high school and college. There are a few differences between high school and college. With high school, in especially public high school, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and Section 504 are the primary laws that are guiding services for public high school. And in college, there's more of a focus on Section 504 and the American with Disabilities Act. In high school, again, high schools ensure success, and so the school and the parents are actively involved in supporting the student. Parents have access to records. I mean, it is their right to have access to records. In college, students are their own self-advocate. Parents don't have access to their educational records unless they sign consent, and that form we refer to as FERPA. So if parents sign the consent, then there can be communication, but otherwise, once students start here at the university, they are their own self-advocates. In high school, there are possible curriculum modifications, but in college, we don't make curriculum modifications. College courses are college level courses. They aren't, the standards in college are not reduced. In high school, the standards may be reduced depending on the needs of a student with disability. In public school, special education services and services for students with disabilities are mandatory and free. But in college, services are voluntary and at the student's expense. So there's kind of a big difference in the way those services are implemented. In high school, students may have special education. They may have related services like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, things like that. And those are free to students. But in college, the focus is on accommodation plans and access to the instruction And the other services are not mandated by law in college or universities. So, so that's just something to kind of be aware of. I have developed a couple of family resources, and I'm going to try to, since I don't know what happened to the other side of my slides here. So I'm going to add a few other family resources to the chat so that you guys will have a few other things outside of this recording in order to read more about in terms of transitioning to college. I have a link for the Office of Civil Rights. There's a link that I'm going to put in the chat in just a second for Americans with Disabilities Act. There's a resource for students with disabilities from online colleges that I just love because it has like different disability types and recommendations or ideas around accommodations for students that that have specific disability types. So it kind of helps students sometimes when they read some of this information to know what to talk about with me when we get together and know what to request or know what might be examples of accommodations that might be available. I'm also going to put a link in transitioning to college for students with disabilities. That has some really good information around family roles and some information such as that. And then there's also one other link. I've got 5 that I'm going to stick in there in just a minute. Making the transition from high school to college for students with disabilities. And my favorite part of that resource is a whole page on how to prepare to become a self-advocate for yourself as a student, which is so helpful in college when you're trying to, you know, learn how to be a college student. But I guess in closing, and before I take any questions, I'm certainly open to any questions, and I do want to get those links in there for anybody who'd like to have those, is just to say that my door is always open when I'm on campus. I am a part-time employee, but I will arrange my schedule based on the needs of the students here on campus. And I would love to see all of them, and anytime that they would like to stop by or any issues that they have that they'd like for me to help problem solve with them, I'm always available and love to meet with them. And like I said, in closing, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.